Welcome to Monster Men.
Hey, I'm back up here in the attic. It's supposed to snow today, and it's May 9th. I think the end of the world is coming. But to keep us warm, we have a great guest. She was suggested to us by Laurel Hightower like a month ago, and I checked out her books. I'm digging them. Reached out to her. The one and only writer of horror, erotica. She's a reviewer, Violet Castro.
Hello, everyone.
How
Thanks, Scott,
are
for
you?
having me. I'm good. So I'm on the opposite side of the pond, and we're having a heat wave.
Oh,
Really?
Yes. So it's really hot in the UK. We don't have air conditioning, so you're kind of,
it's the
yeah.
complete opposite of us. So
You're pretty SOL when it's hot here. So we've been outside and trying to stay cool.
Man, this attic I'm in, normally this time of year, I can't exist here because there's no insulation. So if it's 60 degrees, it's 100 in here. But I'm sitting in here cold right now.
I'm sweating. Like I've got sweat on my lip because I'm at the top floor and it's hot as shit up here. It is hot, and we don't have any kind of air conditioning, like I said. And I don't know, like the world is just upside down. It's flip-flopping. It's cold there. It's hot here. It's been hot. Who knows, man?
Well,
I have an extra air conditioner. You want me to mail it to you?
Oh no! Believe me, the weather here, it's just it changes very quickly.
Right.
It'll be cold again and rainy.
Oh yeah,
well,
for sure.
We're very excited because you're our first international guest. This is the first time we've talked to somebody not in the continental United States. So.
Well, I'm originally from Texas, so I'm still American, but I've lived here so my oldest boy is 13 and a half years.
Wow.
Yeah.
So now you grew up in San Antonio, right?
Yeah, South Texas. Went to school on the East Coast, Philly, and I moved here with an ex, and I'm here because we co-parent. So my boy is a teenager, and sorry, I hear the pitter-patter of small feet. I'm like, oh God, it's a ghost. No, it's my kids.
If I hear that here, it's a ghost.
So I basically co-parent. So I'm here, we until he's 18 and he decides where he wants to go to school, if he wants to go to school. So yeah, that's why I'm here.
Would you want to come back here? And if you did, would you want to be in Texas or, God forbid, Philly?
You know what? That's a tough one. Yeah, it's not a ghost. It's my kid. With Trump, no, I don't want to go back. I do worry about my children's safety with the gun violence. And, there's just a lot of things that I see that just aren't right. And, if it was just me, absolutely. I miss my family every day, my culture. I'm Mexican American, and when I go back to Texas, it's just like it fills me. But with the political environment, the safety, I worry. So who knows? Who could have predicted what's happening now? I really feel like we're living for today.
Yeah, you're right.
That's it. So you've touched on something that I wanted to ask you about, because I was very excited to do this interview, and I was trying to explain to some of my friends who you were, and I was like, well, she's from she's a Mexican from Texas who lives in London, and she writes like horror laced with erotica. Like, it's the most interesting thing, but hard to quantify. So how would you describe what you do?
So I think the big thing is there aren't a lot of there's not a lot of Mexican American, the stereotypes. And for me, you know, I have books that I wrote when I was really small. And I mean, I think one of them is like a ghost with a knife with blood dripping down. I mean, obviously I was like 8 years old. I've always been interested in horror. And I just wanted to see more of my culture and myself that represented, and as a woman, because you have women represented in a lot of books written by men, and no shade to y'all men, but y'all sometimes get it wrong. And
What?
And especially when it comes to sex and our bodies, you know. So how do we respond? What does it feel like for us? How do we see ourselves? How is that scenario different for us through our words and our lens? So that's what I wanted to do, and kind of write female characters that experience what women experience every day, you know, and also having, you know, being Mexican, those things in my culture that are important, that inspired me, things that I experienced that were traumatic. I just had stories to tell, ideas, and I just did it.
Let me tell you, Hairspray and Switchblades. I love the title. And it's rare when I'm reading a book on my Kindle and I'm doing the highlight part. I very rarely ever hit that. But there were lines you were just throwing throughout there. I'm like, oh my God, that's gold. I love that line.
Oh, thank you. That means a lot to me.
It made me think years ago, my agent, when we were like looking for different book deals, she calls me up all excited. Jack, you know this story. So she says, do you have any werewolf porn? I'm like in my house? She said, have you written any werewolf porn? I'm like, hold on, let me check my drawer of werewolf porn.
Did I file that under W or P?
Yeah, I was like,
I mean, there's some scenes in, you know, the American Werewolf in London that could. True.
I just, well, by the way, I saw this is one of your favorite movies, so I wore my shirt today.
I love it. I love it.
But yeah, I remember telling her, I'm like, I don't have any. But I said, I think I know a guy who does. Now, I wish I knew you then. I would have said, oh, go to Violet. Just got nailed right there. Because, I mean, I thought it was just straight up erotica she was looking for, but they were looking for like a mix of, you know, of the horror side of it, thrown in with some erotica. I just didn't have any at the time. You know, now I only write gargoyle pornography, but it's like...
or sea creatures porn.
Oh. Well, I think Guillermo del Toro just nailed it with Shape of Water.
Oh yes. That was... I was not expecting that.
No. I still know how I feel about it.
I'll tell you what, I saw that in the theater with a friend of mine who's not a horror movie fan, and she's like afterwards, what did you think of that movie? And I was like, I really liked it a lot because it was so different. When they do that black and white song, I'm just like, I did not expect that. And the stuff with the two of them, I was like, okay, whatever. This movie took a big swing. And the fact that something that like the three of us should be watching and none of our friends were watching wins Best Picture. I was like, I don't care how good or bad I think that movie is. It's a tremendous accomplishment. That movie.
I was.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to expect, but I was like, is that the Hellboy guy?
That's what I thought at first too.
I was like, oh, is this like a Hellboy prequel?
Is he going to start talking like a stuffy British dude? Like
that's what I thought. I was just like, oh wow. But then it clicked. I was like, oh, but he also did Hellboy, and then it was, but yeah, I didn't know at all what I was getting into, but I like that one as well.
I like it. I'm a Creature from the Black Lagoon fanatic. Like just before the show, I was showing Jack my wife bought me a book that has everything on all the Creature from the Black Lagoon movies, like everything you can.
Oh,
imagine.
nice.
So that'll keep me busy for a month. So I don't know. I think I was expecting something like that. So when I was getting to fish people sex, I was like, oh, I don't know. But it's a beautiful movie. It is beautiful to look at and great ending. So
Mm.
I just need to. I gotta watch it again. I think. Jack, you want to buy it for me?
You got it. I owe you something for your birthday.
There we go.
There you go.
But sea creatures aside, the way that we first discovered you is I asked Laurel Hightower for a recommendation on a vampire book, and she not even hesitated, enthusiastically mentioned you. Now, I'm reading Laurel's book on my Kindle right now, and your vampire. Let me see I've got the name of it here because I'm going to mispronounce it if I don't look at it. It is the erotic
Say it in Esperanto.
the erotic modern
the erotic modern life of Malinalli. Yes.
Malinalli the vampire across the pond. So
Yes.
I picked that one to read. So that's going to be my gateway to your work. I'm reading Laurel's book is awesome, and then I'm done with that. So tell me about your vampire, your work with vampires and your love of vampires, and let's talk vampires.
The book. So Malinalli is straight up erotica. There's not too much horror, except it's a vampire, and it's meant to be a series. But this is the vampire one that's really gets brutal. So Maria the Wanted.
I have on my Kindle. That's next.
Yeah. So this is the one that Laurel read. Maria the Wanted.
Maybe I got to switch up the order.
And so this one, basically, I grew up, I loved Blade. I've loved The Lost Boys. I've loved all of the vampire flicks. But you don't see, you had it in Dusk Till Dawn. You don't see Latino vampires. And not only that, I wanted a heroine. I wanted a complex character that struggles, but also embraces it and embraces the power because, Latinas, once again, there's all the stereotypes. And I wanted her to just be this unlikely heroine. And so Maria the Wanted means a lot to me. And Laurel, she gave me such a beautiful review, and it meant a lot that somebody got it. So yeah, just once again, you grow up taking in all of this media, all these books, all these films, and then you're like, well, what if that happened in Mexico? Or what if that happened in Texas? Or what if, you had vampires from different parts of the world that experienced different parts of history, but not, in some castle in Eastern Europe, but women from different cultures, different times in history, struggling with what's happened to them and how do they change their lives and the lives of others. And that's what Maria the Wanted is about. And there's sex with Lucifer.
Oh,
graphic.
Well, that I can get into. Maybe not fish.
Okay, so I got to read both of these books, but I think this one just got bumped up in the order.
Yeah, Malinalli is more of a is not as horror as you would think. That leans more to the erotic side. I have it's a 3 short story collection called Sed de Sangre, and that is more horror. And the last story is very, very explicit and just, if your computer and your TV isn't working, you can read that one. It's free on Kobo, Barnes and Noble, and Google Play, or it's on Amazon. Nice. And Haley Piper edited that for me. So, yeah.
Well, I really wanted to read Maria the Wanted because I loved what you did with the heroine in Hairspray and Switchblades. Thank you. Because on the surface, people are like, oh, she's just a stripper. But no, there's reasons for everything, and there's logic behind it. And that's what I like, characters that are doing things differently than what most normie people do, but there's a reason for it. Very logical reason. Really makes you empathize. And I love getting that moment where I empathize with somebody that lives a life that I don't live.
Yeah, I wanted to do that because once again, sex work is often looked as, dirty, humiliating, that the sex workers are uneducated, that they have no ambition, and they're often used, either they're the victims or they're, humiliated even more in stories. And for me, I wanted her to shine. I wanted to say that, no, there is no shame in sex work. And, you don't know anybody's story. And kind of, the theme of the book, she's a jaguar. Her skin is not what it appears to be. And same with sex work. You just don't know. And, everybody deserves dignity and respect. And that was kind of what it was about. And it was also about colonization, because the weaver, the bad girl, not bad guy, strips women of their skin and takes magic from different cultures. And so that's part of it as well.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you, that's a badass book.
Thank you.
Good.
Bad bitches.
Hey, I know. I'm married to one.
Yes.
Who are some of your favorite female figures in horror, characters?
So I'm going to talk about one in particular because it's my dream, and I'm actually working on a military space horror at the moment. Vasquez from Aliens.
Nice.
I want to write the Vasquez story because I find her so intriguing and powerful. And I've come up with this whole world where she doesn't die. And I've based a character loosely on her, but I wanted that, that woman with the short hair, the bandana.
Yeah, she was tough.
Yeah. So for me, when I was young, because she's not, the actress isn't Latina, but to see that really had an impact on me. Like, oh wow, look how badass we can be. Look how strong we can be. Look how there can be some equality. And I loved that. She wasn't a maid. She wasn't, any stereotype. And I remember being so little, probably too young. My children have not even watched it. My teen has, but yeah, it made a real impact on me. I like Carrie as well. I like those vengeful females. I like female rage, because so often we're told that it's not appropriate, it's not attractive, it's not ladylike. But for me, I'm like, well, but it's real. We have that. We possess that. So why can't we express it?
Yeah, so I wish someone told my wife that over the years.
Did you see Ready or Not?
Not yet. I want to see that.
Samara Weave. Good.
I need to wait until it comes out on video. We're at different time schedules in the U.S. And it was in the movie theater right when this stuff happened, so I have to wait.
Oh, that stinks. It's such a good movie. Same with
The Invisible Man and a few other ones I have to wait for.
Yeah, that came out. I think they made some money before everything closed down, so Blumhouse did all that.
The Invisible Man was the first movie that they pulled from theaters and put on VOD in reaction to trying to salvage it, and so they'll always have that asterisk by it that notable fact.
You can get it on Amazon, but just to rent it, it's like $15.99.
Yeah.
Just to rent.
That's
and I'm like,
yeah, I did. I thought about that too, and I think
buy it for $15.99 and I can watch it again.
I know. I thought about that because I watched The Hunt, which was. I was dying to watch that, and I'm like, oh, it's just $20 to rent. I'm like, but if we went to the theater, I would have spent about $140 easily, just on tickets and food and drinks. So I was like, yeah, all right,
Babysitter.
I was glad.
For me, it's because I have to pay a babysitter, then your food. Yeah, it's expensive, but but if I wanted to watch again, I was like, oh God. So Parasite is another one I want to watch, but it's not out here yet.
That's so good.
That's a strange movie.
I keep checking Amazon. I'm like, damn it, just fucking get these movies. What's the problem? Like, we ain't going nowhere.
Right?
We might have to send you a care package.
Oh my God, give me some flour and some horror films. That's all.
We can help with that. It's funny.
Yeah.
Something
tortillas.
Something you said made me think of something. So kids nowadays aren't being kind of brought up on horror the way we were. You said, oh, they're too young to watch it now, but we all watched horror movies when we were way too young because we were watching regular television, and we either saw the TV edited versions and then caught up with the unedited versions once the video store happened, or we got cable and we just stayed up late. And so we're all horror fanatics now, thanks to sneaking those movies in, or just my dad going, hey, you should watch this.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so a few years ago, my boy, he begged me to watch The Ring, and it was New Year's Day. I mean, if you're a parent and you've been hungover with kids, you're just like, anything Jesus to So
please
like,
go away.
Yes. So I laid on the sofa and we watched The Ring together. And he won't watch any horror films anymore. I offer. And he's like, no, I'm good.
It's funny because, like, I grew up where my father took us to everything. Drive-ins, we had a movie theater down the street, so we saw everything. And I had no reaction to it. I loved it all from the get-go. My sister was terrified of it all, but still he dragged her. Like, to this day, she's almost 50. She is deranged from what she's seen. Like, she cannot handle anything. So with my kids, I said, well, I'm just going to do what Dad did. But I said, what I will do is I will adjust. So I'll never forget my first daughter, who I named after Star in the Lost Boys.
That's so nice.
She would be around. We'd watch horror movies all the time. She's like toddling around. And then I put on Apt Pupil. You ever see that movie?
I think I have.
Ian McKellen?
But every time I think of students, I think of the one where the alien, the water alien, goes into the kids.
Is that The Faculty?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good movie. Well, there was
I don't know why, but I always think of that film when I think of students.
There's a scene in Apt Pupil where this Nazi throws a cat in a microwave. And my daughter turned to look at it and then lost her mind.
Oh
and I was
my God.
Turned it off, calmed her down, and then I tried another horror movie, and she wasn't having anything. Even the music, I was like, all right, so she's out. And then I just, I always put stuff on, and they would stay away. But then I noticed my younger daughter got into it first when she was 10. Now she's watched everything. I mean, the only movie that she's drawing the line on is the Poughkeepsie tapes. She's upset I took her to see that.
I haven't even heard of that.
Oh.
So that was
it's a found footage movie about a serial killer, and it was a hard to find, almost mythical movie here in the States. And it will make you feel like the grossest person on earth.
Basically,
is it worse than the Human Centipede 2?
Whole different.
It's different.
So the Poughkeepsie tapes is they find a house and there's boxes of videotapes that the killer has made, and there's a bunch missing, but they watch and they piece together a story from news. It's like a found footage kind of thing. But you see video that the killer took.
Cool.
It's great. It's a very it's like for us too that nothing phases. That movie creeps both of us out, and it was made and then not released, so you could only find bootlegs of it, and so it was really hard to find. Then we both saw it on YouTube years ago. Now you can get it on Prime. But it's one of those movies that we're all it's a creepy.
Well, I'm going to watch that.
You should watch it. It's creepy as hell.
You know what's speaking of found footage, that was like, ooh, not found footage, but video that creeped me out. And people haven't really talked about a lot is 9mm, the one with Nicolas Cage.
Oh, 8
and
millimeter, 8 millimeter.
Phoenix. Yes. And I was just that snuff film. I was like, what the? I remember seeing it, and I guess being a woman, seeing violence like that to such a young woman, it really kind of it scares you.
We'll do a double feature. Yeah, watch that with the Poughkeepsie tapes. You'll get more of violence against defenseless women. That's why it's so hard for it to happen.
I agree with you on that.
I liked Gothica.
Oh, Gothica.
With, Gothica, I really enjoyed that because then they all got their asses handed to them.
That's right.
You know, go to 8 millimeter. The ghost.
I'm closing the door because so I have a teen, but I also have a toddler and a 5-year-old, and they just fight.
Oh, God bless you. How
Cage
do you handle
match.
that?
I write.
Mine are 22 and 20. I'm past all that stuff. Thank God.
Yeah, no. It's full time. So, now that we're home a lot, my writing is, I'm doing what I can, but it's slowed significantly.
Yeah. Especially work school from home and all that stuff. I'm sure you're doing.
Oh God.
Take another drink.
This helps.
We love it. So you're 5 hours ahead of us. So I'm drinking coffee and you're drinking wine. Although by the end of this interview, the two of us will be on to our flammable liquid. I want to just go back to 8 millimeter really quick because it's not right to say I love that movie because it's such a dark, creepy. I need a shower after I watch it, but it's a good movie. But James Gandolfini in that movie is spectacular. He's so creepy and sleazy. What a performance. And you just hate him so much.
I mean, everything about 8 millimeter and Joaquin was so young when he did that. And that was when Nic Cage was like, still
like in his prime.
Yeah. And you were like, ooh, Nic Cage. He did a horror film that I reviewed. I can't remember the name, but it was awful. It was probably the worst sex scene I've ever seen in my life.
That vampire movie?
No, he was not a vampire.
Oh, not the Wicker Man.
It had the actress from Run Lola Run. Let me see if I can go onto IMDb quickly.
This sounds like something we got to watch.
It was
Jack, I believe terrible. That Cage is in his prime right now.
Well, he's in a different prime.
I heard he's going to be like the Tiger King, and I totally see it. I totally see the Tiger King in him because he's just...
Yes, he's perfect. I would say this.
I'm like...
Back in 8 millimeter and that kind of era, he was Nicolas Cage. Now he's Nic Cage.
Yeah.
That's right.
Okay.
And he's full on crazy.
Let's see if I can get this film that was just absolutely...
You should watch The Color Out of Space. He's off the hook in that, and it's a great movie.
Okay, he has way too many films.
Oh yeah, The Wicker Man with him is a car wreck.
IMDb, I'm like, he's got so many, and some of them are just like.
Oh, let me tell you, he can be one of the worst actors on earth. Like if he's not in the right role, he is terrible.
This one, I wish I could find it because honestly, it's like the worst.
Who's the Lola Run? Because the one, if you look up that, maybe you can find it quicker.
Yes. Oh, because she has fewer. That's right.
Did you see The Wicker Man with it? Yeah. The Wicker Man with him?
I did, but I mean, the original is so iconic that...
The Wicker Man with him is a train wreck.
I wasn't going to watch that.
And she's... Okay, here we go. Let's see. Let's get this film that was just like...
We got to know at this point.
Yeah, exactly.
I know. Now it's just like the hunt is on.
Because we're going to watch it too.
Oh,
yes.
Once you said the worst sex scene, I'm like, okay,
It's awful. It's terrible, and it's like with his girlfriend's daughter, which even makes it even worse.
Oh my god. He's in the
Sounds like a
sequel.
Dario Argento
I mean,
movie.
she's of age, but it's just like, you've got to be kidding me.
He's in the sequel to The Bad Lieutenant, and The Bad Lieutenant is a tough movie to get through. So I've never seen the Bad Lieutenant sequel with Nic Cage, but
I didn't know there was a Bad Lieutenant sequel.
yeah, it's called like Port of Call New Orleans or something like that.
Okay, I think this might be it. I think I might have found it. Between Worlds.
I never even heard of it.
Yeah.
It is Between Worlds. It is the worst.
Oh, good. We're in for the worst.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't like it when a movie is moderately bad.
You have to watch it. You just have to watch his performance in this. Just, oh, Jesus.
Might appreciate it now. Who knows? So what's it like over there during this pandemic? Because like my wife has a friend in Scotland who they said they're on lockdown, according to them, like not even like quarantine, lockdown, that it's been extended to December.
Oh, wow. No, we're on lockdown. You can go to the store, but you can't see other people. They haven't even discussed schools. You can go out once a day for exercise for an hour. They will open garden centers, which it's like a Lowe's, I guess, or a hardware stores. But other than that, nothing's open. There's a few takeaway places, one coffee shop chain, but they're very strict on the distancing, very strict.
Yeah, well, here the cops are starting to beat people to a paste for not social distancing. That's been happening lately.
That's because nobody does it.
Yeah, like here, if you give them a centimeter, all of a sudden 500 people are all congregating together on top of each other, no mask, nothing. They don't care. So
yeah, and that's the issue. It's you can't control people, and I guess that's what they're afraid of here, is that if they do the smallest of measures, that people are just going to, it's a whole give them an inch, take a mile mentality. But people are restless. Of course they're going to be restless. But at the same time, we just don't know. I mean, there's just so much speculation. The other day, I just had to take a news break because I just, mentally just had no space for it.
Oh, I go whole weeks with no news. I'm like, what's the point?
I actually envy you being outside the country, because you probably get better U.S. news than we do, because all the outlets are either far right or far left. It's really hard to get, what is the actual truth versus agendas.
I mean, I think here they're just focusing on the vaccine options and the numbers. So that's one good thing. They're focusing on the science here.
Right.
But being here, looking at the states, it scares me. It really, really frightens me, especially Texas, where my family is, because they've really eased off. And I have a cousin that's a nurse, family members that have health conditions, and it frightens me, to be honest.
We gotta hope that Texas heat is way too much for any virus to survive. That's the hope. So,
on that, let me just give a little self promo. You can pre-order the book now. It's called Lockdown. It's coming from Polis Books. It's an anthology to help book and comic retailers in this time. So it is a charity anthology. And I mean, the lineup is crazy. So I'm in it.
Nice.
I saw that book on your page.
Hector Acosta. You have Angel Luis Colon. Sorry. You have S.A. Crosby. You have is Gabino is in it.
Oh, Gabino.
Yeah, you've got a ton of authors in that. and it's charity. And I wrote the story that's in there, Asylum. I wrote it over a year ago, and I wrote it because there were a lot of children and 16, 10 small kids dying in ICE detention centers from the flu, just the flu, which we all get. But you're sleeping on a cement floor, you're given a piece of plastic for a blanket and no medical attention. And I was so angry that I wrote this story. Fast forward, like, I never imagined any of this. And and so that story, Asylum, is about, and it talks about heat, it talks about it has those pandemic themes.
I saw it, stories of crime, terror, and hope during a pandemic, which I think what's happening now, this is a vein that's so rich for people who are storytellers. We're gonna be set for life here, and it's not just books about pandemics. It's going to be books on the human condition that we're seeing that happens during times of stress and strain. So
absolutely,
yeah, my mind is already buzzing like there's bees in my head.
If you take a movie like The Thing, or you go to a recent movie like Sea Fever, that were made before this, but when you watch them, like Sea Fever came out not knowing that this was going to happen, and it's so much more relevant than it would have been if we watched it in January. And The Thing, you go back and watch it now with the paranoia. You just heard one of Trump's I don't know,
his
Secret
valet.
Service or valet had the virus, and like he was losing his mind over it. It's like that paranoia of, who has it, who's going to give it to me, and all that is a real thing.
Stephen Miller's wife has it.
Yeah. I think one of Pence's guys had it too. Or at Ivanka. Like, so it's getting closer and closer to different people. And like, just for us in the workplace, we have an office where one person goes in a day basically, but occasionally somebody else will come in and everybody else works from home. Well, one guy was in there and he called me up. He goes, "Oh, so-and-so just showed up. I don't know if I should stay or not. By the way, he coughed and I lost my mind."
I mean, I think a lot of it, we've lost a lot of perspective too. I think now it's full on the pedals down to fear without realizing that most people, the vast majority who get it, you cough, sniffle, you wait it out and you're fine. But we're fixated on the death part.
I had allergies because everything is blooming. We're having this heat wave. We've had it for a while now. And I'm waiting in line to go in the grocery store. And, you've got that pollen. And I'm like, like trying to sneeze like this. And I'm like, oh, God, please don't. I don't want to be pushed out. I'm almost there. I need groceries. But, it wasn't. It was the pollen. And my eyes were itching and watering. I'm like, oh, God, I look like a mess.
Yeah. And now you worry. They're going to put a scarlet C on your head.
Yes, honestly. So
I was fortunate enough to go through a militarized drive-through testing center.
Oh, okay.
Because my wife was sick. She has several autoimmune diseases, and she was sick with every symptom you could have, except breathing. She could breathe fine, and her doctor was like, don't come in. It'll be fine. Just if you start to have trouble breathing, go to the emergency room. And then he got coronavirus, and he was out of the picture. So I kept calling to go for the drive-through test, and they kept saying, no, it's only, there were certain things you had to hit. Once her best friend got it and ended up on a ventilator, that was like the bell and the whistle went off. We went there, and it was a place where I had my prom there. That was where we went after my wife's prom. It was like this, it's a beach area. It's gorgeous. You go there, there's big flashing signs, stop your car, keep your windows up. They're shouting at you through bullhorns and stuff, and there's military all around the place. It was creepy. So as we're driving around, you come into these big white tents, and there's people in hazmat suits everywhere, and the hazmat suits are duct taped in there, so nothing can get in.
Yeah.
And my wife she's starting to get really nervous now.
Yeah, that must be so frightening.
And so they said to me, "Do you want a test?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." I figure, solidarity. I'm like, "We're both in this together, babe."
and you could be asymptomatic. There are a lot of people that have it and have no symptoms, which is even scarier. Like that really puts the fear when you hear that, 'cause you're like looking around like, okay, who has it and doesn't have symptoms?
That's why the guy coughing on the other side of the office is concerning.
But Jack, you should hug me because I tested negative. I'm good. But by the way, that Q-tip thing goes so far up your nose.
I've heard, I've seen. I'm just like, oh.
You have an itch in your nose, behind your eye, and in your head that you can't scratch for hours when it's done.
Oh my God.
It doesn't
you need
hurt.
to write about that. You need to write about that.
Oh, trust me. It won't be a Q-tip though. It'll probably be some kind of bug. One of those killer hornets.
Yes. Murder hornets. God. It is like, who blew the fucking horns, and the horsemen of the apocalypse are like upon us.
It's my fault. I was playing with this Hellraiser Rubik's Cube and I opened up the gates of hell. I'm sorry, everybody.
I already reached out to one of my editors who we've done a bunch of monster books with. I was like, dude, murder hornets. He's like, so how many pages do you have yet?
Sci-Fi Channel's going to have murder hornets on in a couple of weeks. Come on.
Totally.
But I'm sure that somewhere they'll have, the Sharknado.
Yeah, murder hornet NATO.
Yes, you're going to have the two. By air, by sea, nobody's safe.
Ian Ziering. Somebody call Ian Ziering. He's up.
Yeah.
There's no filming.
Oh, it's true. Maybe an animated one.
Animated, some kind of terrible green screen
Just
CGI.
Him and Tara Reid can do voiceovers for it.
I was just about to say Tara Reid.
Hopefully you don't mean the Tara Reid who's accusing Biden of messing around.
No.
You get that one.
Oh, honestly, I felt so bad. Tara Reid was like, excuse me.
I don't even spell my name that way.
I felt so bad for her because she must wake up and her Twitter's blown up and she's like, who's Biden?
She probably doesn't even know who Joe Biden is.
Oh my God, who's Joe Biden?
Honestly, I feel so bad for her. Like, she's not even old enough to,
Yeah, that's
been working on a campaign or whatever. It's just like, oh Lord.
Tara Reid's been through enough.
Hey, I could tell you, I have a friend, Adolf Hitler. He has such a hard time. No. Actually, there is a family, a white supremacist, who named their kid Adolf Hitler a few years ago, and child services took the kid.
Honestly, I just saw a news thing about two news things, and this is what scares me. You asked me about going back to the U.S. Some guy in a grocery store with a KKK hood.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I saw that guy.
Another guy with a mask with a swastika on the mask. How do you explain that to your child? Oh. And your children who do understand, like my older boy, and you can't exactly say something because that person most likely will have a gun strapped to them and they'll shoot you like that guard at the Dollar Tree or whatever happened.
Yeah, I would just say to my kids, see that guy? That's a loser. And if they die, we don't mourn them.
No.
I mean, you can't fight stupid. There's just,
but I just,
the world is full of.
I'm just shocked. I'm like, once again, is this like another plague? Stupidity? Like we've got hornets, pandemic, assholes.
Oh, and that asshole plague's been going on for centuries.
I was just about to say that can't be that is just that's just humans, man. That's just people.
Believe me, yeah. It is the first week of May, and New England and New York are getting snow. So between pandemics, murder hornets, and now snow, people are pretty much convinced.
We're fucked, basically.
It's locusts are next, and actually, you welcome locusts compared to murder hornets.
Drink up because you never know.
Yes.
Oh, if I drink anymore, my liver is going to fall right out of me.
I was thinking that my liver is so fatty. It's probably like you could probably make butter out of it.
Oh, well, that's good.
Foie gras.
Violet foie gras.
Exactly.
Oh, it's
I
crazy.
can make flour out of my bones.
That's a good idea.
So, where do people find you? You have you got a webpage?
Not in your house. You don't have to give your address. Just online.
No. Yeah, so I'm active on Twitter and Instagram. So I put a lot on Instagram stories. I'm always like, hi, I'm in my garden, like, random shit, what I'm listening to, I don't know. And when I'm not writing and I'm just can't even be bothered, then I'm in Instagram. So Instagram and Twitter, V Latina London. And I have my website, which is vvcastro.com, because the two V's look like little fangs.
Nice.
I was wondering why you did that.
And V Castro was taken, so
Plus, your website has
know.
that cool, like, flowing blood thing going on. I like that.
Yeah. And Goodreads, Amazon. I'm on BookBub, but I don't really do anything on BookBub. I just did it.
I'm the same way. I have an account.
I'm like, okay. I don't even know.
There's just so much you can do.
Yeah, but not you can't, once again, I focus on, I don't have a Facebook account because fuck them, even though Instagram's owned by Facebook, but still I find Instagram, when Twitter can get too much, and then Instagram's like a little safe haven. You're just like, here's a cute picture. There's a kitten. Yeah, so I mean, I'm out there. I'm always, I'm pretty accessible if people have questions. I actually had a Latina email me the other day and asking, hey, I'm really struggling. I feel discouraged, but it seems like you're making headway. Any advice? And so of course, I'm going to answer those emails. I try to answer all the emails I get, and just be encouraging to the horror community, the writing community. Try to if people have book launches, or just try to be supportive, because I truly believe you get what you give, and boosting other voices is really important. So I did a story bundle for Latinx horror and dark fiction. And honestly, that was so rewarding, because you have all of these books that are amazing, and the authors are just so talented and have unique voices, unique experiences. And to be able to give that a greater audience, it's really fulfilling. And Brian Keene was kind enough to help me get another J.F. Gonzalez book out there, Shapeshifter. And that's like an exclusive with the story bundle, because it hasn't been on ebook before. So that was really nice to kind of keep that voice alive. And so, I really try to do my best to be supportive of the horror community, because we are a community. And if it's all about you, I mean, that's kind of a lonely place. And so, yeah.
Well,
I'm always
Look,
there.
you're part of this community. We all help each other out in this community.
Yeah, exactly.
We're nice, unlike other genres.
The silver lining in all this crap that's going on in the world, I think part of it, for us two at least, the horror community has been an amazing place before this all happened. But since we've been doing these horror hangouts, meeting people like you, who we come from such different places, but we have these things in common, and suddenly we're just, talking to each other. Like Laurel is a perfect example. I'd never met her before. I'd heard her name and seen her on Twitter, and now I consider her a friend. I've never met her in person, but everybody's, whether you're an author, you're a podcaster, you're a movie maker, or just a fan, is like when we're talking and suddenly it's like, oh yeah, I love that vampire movie too. And suddenly you're talking on a different level, and being able to do stuff like this, it's you're kind of cutting to the real deal in life.
Yeah.
Well, I feel the horror community, because you can, we were discussing before, you can genre blend, which I like to do. because I think, life is a big blend of mishmash of whatever. We all have different parts of our personalities. We go through different phases in our lives. We change, we grow, we can be assholes at times. And that's what I like about horror. You can put all of that in. You can reflect what it is to be human, or to be a vampire, or to be a monster. And I love that about horror. But also horror, especially the indie presses, are making a big effort to be inclusive and to find diverse voices and to promote them. Women, it's great. And I feel like I found a home. And, the horror community has done nothing but embrace me, and I appreciate it. And that's why I also try to be supportive, because, I want to give back and pay it forward as much as I can.
Yeah, no, I'm part of the majority of the white guy horror writers, and I'm encouraging them to step out of your comfort zone. So everybody, like, I'm writing a book right now, every character except one is Puerto Rican. Like, right outside, you got to know something about what you're writing about. So don't be a total ignoramus and write about some people that you've never met before. But it just doesn't always have to be a white dude who's also a writer and struggling with himself. Try something else and get out there. Like my last book, Slash, the final girl, I had 2 final girls, both African American. Like, inclusion is so important nowadays. And also, it's going to get you more readers. That's what you want. More people, like, involved in the genre.
Yeah, I always say that because I still see anthologies and publishers that only have white authors. And I remember John Taff, who I love, brought the issue up. He was like, anthologies kind of don't do as well. Why is that? Da, da, da. And I was like, well, one thing anthologies can do, publishers can do to make them more successful is be more inclusive. Because why should people of color or women buy and read and support an anthology that doesn't reflect them? So if you do want to, or a publisher, like if you do want more readers, you do want to sell more books, then you should reach out, because the days are over. Unlike when I was growing up, where you had no choice, So I will always forever love, like I said, all of the classics, Freddy Krueger, Nightmare on Elm Street, and even stuff like Pretty in Pink and 16 Candles, where, you would never see a Mexican girl. There was not really a choice, but now we have a choice. Just like I have a choice. I write what I've experienced and try to reflect where I come from. So that's what my big thing is to editors and publishers. Well, look at who you are supporting. Are you inclusive? You want a greater audience? Then you need to work at it. The days of expecting people of color and women to just kind of go with the flow, it's over.
Hey, and remember this, most readers are women. Be very cognizant of that, because most of my fans, you would think a guy who writes about monsters, all my fans are dudes, but they're mostly women. So, and luckily, I'm surrounded by women here. I live with a ton of women, so it's all good. I had that influence daily.
So
I sure do. Sometimes I know more than I ever wanted to know.
Oh, goodness.
Awesome. Well, listen, this has been a tremendous time, and it's so great to meet you and welcome you into the family.
Yes, I had a blast. You guys are amazing, and it's fun, and I just really appreciate you reaching out, because once again, those opportunities are really important for women and women of color to kind of get their work out there, and I really appreciate it. So thank you.
Awesome.
I can't
and
wait.
It's nice. Honestly, I miss people. I miss talking to adults.
Yeah, oh my God, yeah, I feel so bad for you right now.
I cannot wait to read your books. The reviews that I've read, everything is like, it's like, oh my God, it's so much fun. And then there's like a little line, and it sizzles. or like there's little like
Thank
hints.
you.
Like,
I have to have that. I always have to put in that.
Good for you.
I always do. I'm working on a few things that don't have it, but just because they go really dark. And, but yeah, I like to add that because, I mean, everybody has sex. Most people enjoy sex, and it's part of life. So I actually had a conversation with Sonora Taylor about this, and she's like, well, you know, the way you write about it, it's not humiliating, or there's no degradation. It's not part of the horror. I said, that's because sex is part of everyday life and something enjoyable and nice, and we should be able to express that freely. And as women, we should be able to express our sexuality without being slut shamed, or, you know, if I want to be portrayed in a certain way, then I'm going to show you how it's done. I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to write about it.
Right. No, that's awesome. Like I said, I got your book lined up for the next one. So looking forward to it.
Thank you guys. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
You'll get some welcome. Tweets from us after we read it.
Well, I tweeted just before when I was messing with the computer, waiting for it to like do its thing. Then I'm like, oh, I'm about to go on. Watch this.
I saw your tweet just before you popped up on Skype. I was like, oh, yeah. All right, here we go. Perfect. Oh, and Aaron Al-Mahari says hello.
Okay. Oh, yes. She's so sweet. She's really, I really like her. She's really good. And I want to read her book, actually. But honestly, you think, oh, you're locked down, you have all this time. But I swear, like every 5 minutes, if I sit down and I have a book in front of me or my Kindle, the kids are like, I'm hungry, I'm thirsty, I'm bored. I'm just like,
yep. It gets better.
Reading the same paragraph like 10 times. Like, what's happening?
Well, we wish you the best of luck. I hope you can get an hour of uninterrupted whatever you want today. I'm going to give you that. Send that vibe out.
I'm going to be in my hot tub, chilling, drinking, thinking about murder hornets.
Well, it's
horny murder hornets.
That's right.
When we started this conversation, it was technically morning, and we've crossed over into what we would consider lunchtime. So now Hunter and I can go pour ourselves a nice cold stiff drink and cheers our friend across the pond. Yes, I'm going to have
another glass of wine.
Good for you.
Good for you. Okay, well, thanks for joining us, and everybody else.
Yes, thank you. Take care. Stay safe. Stay healthy. And
stay in touch.
Long live horror.
Stay in touch. You're part of the family. Bye. All right, everybody. We'll see y'all next time on Monster Men.
Bye.
Bye.
Monster Men, Monster Men.